You're Gage, am I right? Okay, that's right.
What are you up to, man? Good for you. Get it low. Yeah.
I don't know if I can pause it. Oh, okay. All right, students, we're gonna go ahead to lunch and come back. We will finish this game when we come back. Thank you.
Me sorry.
Yes.
You had put in a zero for assignment that I already had did.
You talk about MLK?
No, not MLK. I just had finished that. I did the air puzzle, and I made a 76 on it.
Okay.
But I don't know if that been a mistake you made or not.
Okay, I wrote it down. I'll check it.
All right.
All right, everybody, let's get started. If you are just joining us, log into Kahoot. The code is in the chat, but I'll type it again. Oh, yes, you can throw that away, Savannah. Y'all need to throw that away. I'll wait. All right, students, if you go to Google Classroom, click on classwork, and you'll see it's arranged in folders. First, your class newsletter, then assignments, and then I posted your documents for News Ella. These are activities here you see on the screen to do if you finish your work early. You can listen to podcasts or play vocabulary games. This is the announcements here where you get the codes, the weekly agenda with due dates, to tell you what's due. So right now we're covering Romeo and Juliet. We're finishing Act 3 and preparing to go into Act 4. And I just want to point out too that I had a video that's the welcome letter. And I think, let me look up here. It's like a 10-minute video for directions that was given when I first came here. Only 5 people have watched it. And see, this is not good. Then students would say, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know that. You have to listen and pay attention. Okay, now here are the unit materials. Right now we're reading Romeo and Juliet. That's the audio. Here you'll find notes about the time period. And this right here is very helpful too, because it explains each act and scene one by one. It gives you a summary, and then it tells you what each act, scene by scene, it summarizes it for you. So if you don't understand what the play is about, you can look in these notes and they'll help you. Okay, here are some other notes that we went through previously about Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet. Right here in the life of Shakespeare, you have a frail word model, which we're going to use today, later on, and also the vocabulary words for Romeo and Juliet. You're supposed to have had a test today, but we're going to push it to next week. You're having a test on Act 1 and 2. Okay, here are the PDFs for all the stories that we're going to read for the remainder of the year, hopefully. So those are all the PDFs. Right now we're in Act 3 of Romeo and Juliet. And of course, that's quizzes, that's in the past. And all of these are podcasts and online books. So right now we're in scene 4 of Act 3. And so this is what you should see on your screen. And this is the PDF you should have pulled up from Google Classroom.
But that a joy past joy calls out on me.
We're not exactly there yet, but it's coming.
To part with thee. Farewell.
Exit. Scene 4. A room in Capulet's house. Enter Capulet, Lady Capulet, and Paris.
Things have fallen out, sir, so unluckily that we have had no time to move our daughter. Look you, she loved her kinsman Tybalt dearly, and so did I. Well, we were born to die. 'Tis very late. She'll not come down tonight. I promised you, but for your company, I would have been in bed an hour ago.
These times of woe afford no tune to woo. Madam, good night. Commend me to your daughter.
I will, and know her mind early tomorrow. Tonight she's mewed up to her heaviness.
Sir Paris, I will make a desperate tender of my child's love. I think she will be ruled in all respects by me. Nay, more, I doubt it not. Wife, go you to her ere you go to bed. Acquaint her here of my son Paris's love, and bid her, mark you me, on Wednesday next. But soft, what day is this?
Monday, my lord.
Monday. Ah, well, Wednesday is too soon. Thursday let it be. A Thursday, tell her. She shall be married to this noble earl. Will you be ready? Do you like this haste? We'll keep no great ado, a friend or two. For hark you, Tybalt being slain so late, it may be thought we held him carelessly, being our kinsman, if we revel much. Therefore we'll have some half a dozen friends, and there an end. But what say you to Thursday?
My lord, I would that Thursday were tomorrow.
Well, get you gone. A Thursday be it then. Go you to Juliet ere you go to bed. Prepare her, wife, against this wedding day. Farewell, my lord. Light to my chamber home. Before me, it is so very, very late that we may call it early by and by. Good night.
Exit. Scene 5. An open gallery to Juliet's chamber, overlooking the garden. Enter Romeo and Juliet.
Wilt thou be gone? It is not yet near day. It was the nightingale and not the lark that pierced the fearful hollow of thine ear. Nightly she sings on yond pomegranate tree. Believe me, love, it was the nightingale.
It was the lark, the herald of the morn, no nightingale. Look, love, what envious streaks do lace the severing clouds in yonder east. Night's candles are burnt out, and jocund day stands tiptoe on the misty mountain tops. I must be gone and live, or stay and die.
Yond light is not daylight, I know it, I. It is some meteor that the sun exhales to be to thee this night a torch-bearer, and light thee on the way to Mantua. Therefore stay yet, thou needst not to be gone.
Let me be ta'en, let me be put to death. I am content, so thou wilt have it so. I'll say yon grey is not the morning's eye, 'tis but the pale reflex of Cynthia's brow. Nor that is not the lark whose notes do beat the faulty heavens so high above our heads. I have more care to stay than will to go. Come, death, and welcome. Juliet wills it so. How is't, my soul? Let's talk. It is not day.
It is, it is. Hie, hence, be gone, away. It is the lark that sings so out of tune, straining harsh discords and unpleasing sharps. Some say the lark makes sweet division. This doth not so, for she divideth us. Some say the lark and loathed toad change eyes. Oh, now I would they had changed voices too, since arm from arm that voice doth us affray, hunting thee hence with hunts up to the day. Now be gone, more light and light it grows.
More light and light, more dark and dark our woes.
Enter nurse.
Madam,
Nurse,
the lady mother is coming to your chamber. The day is broke. Be wary. Look about.
Exit.
then window let day in and let life out.
Farewell, farewell. One kiss and I'll descend.
Descends.
Art thou gone so? My lord, my love, my friend, I must hear from thee every day, the hour, for in a minute there are many days. Oh, by this count I shall be much in years ere I again behold my Romeo.
Farewell. I will omit no opportunity that may convey my greetings, love, to thee.
Oh, think'st thou we shall ever meet again?
I doubt it not, and all these woes shall serve for sweet discourses in our time to come.
Oh, God, I have an ill-divining soul. Methinks I see thee now thou art below as one dead in the bottom of a tomb. Either my eyesight fails, or thou look'st pale.
And trust me, love, in my eyes so do you. Dry sorrow drinks our blood. Adieu. Adieu.
Exit below.
Oh, fortune, fortune, all men call thee fickle. If thou art fickle, what dost thou with him that is renowned for faith? Be fickle, fortune, for then I hope thou wilt not keep him long, but send him back.
Within.
Oh, daughter, are you up?
Is that cause? Is it my lady mother? Is she not down so late or up so early? What unaccustomed cause procures her hither?
Enter Lady Capulet.
Why, how now, Juliet?
Madam, I am not well.
Evermore weeping for your cousin's death? What? Wilt thou wash him from his grave with tears? And if thou couldst not make him live. Therefore have done. Some grief shows much of love, but much of grief shows still some want of wit.
Yet let me weep for such a feeling loss.
So shall you feel the loss, but not the friend which you weep for.
Feeling so the loss, I cannot choose but ever weep the friend.
Well, girl, thou weepst not so much for his death, as that the villain lives which slaughtered him.
What villain, madam?
That same villain, Romeo.
Villain and he be many miles asunder. God pardon him, I do with all my heart, and yet no man like he doth grieve my heart.
That is because the traitor murderer lives.
I, madam, from the reach of these my hands, would none but I might venge my cousin's death.
We will have vengeance for it, fear thou not. Then weep no more. I'll send to one in Mantua, where that same banished runagate doth live. Shall give him such an unaccustomed dram, that he shall soon keep Tybalt company. And then, I hope, thou wilt be satisfied.
Indeed, I never shall be satisfied with Romeo till I behold him dead. Is my poor heart so for a kinsman vexed? Madam, if you could find out but a man to bear a poison, I would temper it, that Romeo should, upon receipt thereof, soon sleep in quiet. Oh, how my heart abhors to hear him named, and cannot come to him, to wreak the love I bore my cousin Tybalt upon his body that hath slaughtered him.
Find thou the means, and I'll find such a man. But now I'll tell thee joyful tidings, girl.
And joy comes well in such a needy time. What are they, I beseech your ladyship?
Well, thou hast a careful father, child, one who, to put thee from thy heaviness, hath sorted out a sudden day of joy, that thou expectest not, nor I looked out for.
Madam, in happy time, what day is that?
Marry, my child, early next Thursday morn, the gallant, young, and noble gentleman, the County Paris, at St. Peter's Church, shall happily make thee there a joyful bride.
Now by St. Peter's Church, and Peter too, he shall not make me there a joyful bride. I wonder at this haste, that I must wed ere he that should be husband comes to woo. I pray you tell my lord and father, madam, I will not marry yet, and when I do, I swear it shall be Romeo, whom you know I hate, rather than Paris. These are news indeed.
Here comes your father. Tell him so yourself, and see how he will take it at your hands.
Enter Capulet and nurse.
When the sun sets, the air doth drizzle dew. But for the sunset of my brother's son, it rains down right. How now, a candid girl, what skill in tears? Evermore showering? In one little body thou counterfeit'st a bark, a sea, a wind. For still thy eyes, which I may call the sea, do ebb and flow with tears. The bark thy body is, sailing in this salt flood. The winds thy sighs, who, raging with thy tears, and they with them, without a sudden calm, will overset thy tempest-tossed body. How now, wife, have you delivered to her our decree?
Ay, sir, but she will none, she gives you thanks. I would the fool were married to her grave.
Soft, take me with you. Take me with you, wife. How? Will she none? Doth she not give us thanks? Is she not proud? Doth she not count her blessed, unworthy as she is, that we have wrought so worthy a gentleman to be her bridegroom?
Not proud you have, but thankful that you have. Proud can I never be of what I hate, but thankful even for hate that is meant love.
How now, chop logic? What is this? Proud, and I thank you, and I thank you not, and yet not proud. This just minion. You thank me no thankings, nor proud me no prouds. But fettle your fine joints against Thursday next, to go with Paris to St. Peter's Church, or I will drag thee on a hurdle thither. Out you green sickness carrier, out you baggage, you tallow face.
Fie, fie, what are you, mad?
Good father, I beseech you on my knees, hear me with patience but to speak a word.
Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch. I tell thee what, get thee to church a Thursday, or never after look me in the face. Speak not, reply not, do not answer me. My fingers itch. Wife, we scarce thought us blessed that God had left us but this only child. But now I see this one is one too much, and that we have a curse in having her. Out on her, guilty.
God in heaven bless her. You are to blame, my lord, to rate her so.
And why, my lady wisdom? Hold your tongue. Good Prudence, smatter with your gossips. Go.
I speak no treason.
Oh, God ye good.
May not one speak?
Peace, you mumbling fool. Utter your gravity or a gossip's bowl, for here we need it not.
You are too hot.
God's bread, it makes me mad. Day, night, hour, time, tide, work, play, alone, in company, still my care hath been to have her matched. And having now provided a gentleman of noble parentage, of fair demeans, youthful, and nobly trained, stuffed, as they say, with honourable parts, proportion, as one's heart would wish a man. And then to have a wretched, puling fool, a whining mammet in her fortune's tender, to answer, I'll not wed, I cannot love, I am too young, I pray you pardon me. But an you will not wed, I'll pardon you. Graze where you will, you shall not house with me. Look to't, think on't, I do not use to jest. Thursday is near, lay hand on heart, advise, and you be mine. I'll give you to my friend, and you be not hang, beg, starve, die of the streets, but by my soul I'll ne'er acknowledge thee, nor what is mine shall never do thee good. Trust to't, bethink you, I'll not be forsworn.
Exit.
Is there no pity sitting in the clouds that sees into the bottom of my grief? Oh, sweet my mother, cast me not away. Delay this marriage for a month, a week, or if you do not, make the bridal bed in that dim monument where Tybalt lies.
Talk not to me, for I'll not speak a word. Do as thou wilt, for I have done with thee.
Exit.
Oh God! Oh nurse, how shall this be prevented? My husband is on earth, my faith in heaven. How shall that faith return again to earth unless that husband send it me from heaven by leaving earth? Comfort me, counsel me. Alack, alack, that heaven should practice stratagems upon so soft a subject as myself. What sayest thou? Hast thou not a word of joy? Some comfort, nurse.
Faith, here 'tis. Romeo is banished, and all the world to nothing, that he dares ne'er come back to challenge you. Or if he do, it needs must be by stealth. Then, since the case so stands as now it doth, I think it best you married with the county. Oh, he is a lovely gentleman. Romeo's a dish-clout to him. An eagle, madam, hath not so green, so quick, so fair an eye as Paris hath. Beshrew my very heart, I think you are happy in this second match, for it excels your first. Or if it did not, your first is dead. Or 'twas good he were as living here, and you no use of him.
Speak'st thou this from thy heart?
And from my soul too, or else beshrew them both.
Amen.
What?
Well, thou hast comforted me marvellous much. Go in, and tell my lady I am gone, having displeased my father to Lawrence's cell, to make confession and to be absolved.
Marry, I will, and this is wisely done.
Exit.
Ancient damnation! O most wicked fiend! Is it more sin to wish me thus forsworn, or to dispraise my lord with that same tongue which she hath praised him with above compare so many thousand times? Go, counsellor, thou and my bosom henceforth shall be twain. I'll to the friar to know his remedy. If all else fail, myself have power to die.
Exit. End of Act 3.
Okay, so excuse me. If you look at the notes in the chat, what have we learned in Act 3, Scene 4? Late Monday evening, Capulet and Paris discuss how Juliet's grief over Thibaut's death has prevented Paris from continuing his courtship of Juliet. And also, I want you to know that Paris is a relative of the prince. So that's the way that the family can get the prince on their side. The father offers her hand in marriage and does not care how Juliet feels about it. And her parents even talk about disowning her. And really, um, in this act, they also said some really mean things. They'll say it differently from what we say it today, but they really said some mean, low down things to Juliet. How unappreciative she was, how stupid she was, how foolish she was, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You see in the notes, there is a clash between young and old. Let me show this. Oh, that's what there is a clash between young and old. Yes, there it is right there. Also between youth and old age. Capel and his wife are so anxious to have her to marry Paris. And Juliet is so desperate to get out of this marriage. She's planning to fake her own death. The friar is going to help her fake her own death in order to avoid this marriage. All right, in Act 3, Scene 5, in Romeo and Juliet's last moments together, they have several references to death. And you also see a foreshadowing of Romeo's death by saying he looks as though he's in a tomb. Lord Capulet used to believe Juliet's opinion was important in deciding who she should marry. But like I said before, he said that he's going to disown her. His wife tries to calm him down. But then Lady Capulet also says that she's done with Juliet. And you can see that her mom really has a vengeful type attitude. So then my question is, should parents disown their children? Take a few moments and think about it and type it in the chat. Someone said no, they should love their children no matter what. What do you think? Okay, 2 people have responded. They said no. 3 people. Okay, most of the students I've only heard from 5 has said no, that parents should not disown their children. Is there anything a child could do that would make a parent disown their children, or you think it's a worth reason for a child to be disowned by their parents. Because there have been parents who write children out of they write their children out of, leave them out of the will. Well, what emotions do you see in the play, clashing emotions that Juliet has when the nurse tells her about Tybalt's death and Romeo's punishment? Do you think that Romeo received a just punishment? Should he have been banished? Because in my opinion, he didn't even start the fight. So take a few moments and type your answer in the chat. Okay, someone said she felt upset and angry. Juliet feels angry because she won't see Romeo again. Okay. And for students who are new, this is my notebook. I keep a record of who participates in the chat, who participates in Kahoot quizzes, who leaves early. Some students don't know that when they log off, but yes, I do see you. If people leave early, I know some people have internet issues, but some of you is really not internet issues. Boys and girls, this is your education. And I can't stress that you have the responsibility for getting the best education. You have to work in partnership with your teacher and with your school and with your parents. But anyway, okay, let's see. Any more answers? Do you think Romeo should have been banished for what happened? Someone said 50-50. He should have been punished, but at the same time, no. Okay, if you look on the screen, this is some of the vocabulary words for Act 3. You have abhor, which means to hate or detest. Banishment means exile. Calamity refers to a disaster. When you commend someone, you're giving them praise. Dexterity, we're talking about a skill. Discord, disagreement. Eloquence, impressive speaking ability. Prevail means to triumph, reconcile, to settle or to make peace, and then, of course, vengeance. So you need to review for your test, which I may give next week. And it's going to be a Google form. It would be multiple choice. You'll see the word, and then you have to choose the correct definition. And then you will have some short answer questions for Romeo and Juliet. And the expectation is that you will write in complete sentences with correct spelling, grammar, and punctuation. And so some of you may say, well, I don't see the need for English. Well, let's say you become an adult, and even now as a teenager, let's say that you're involved in a car accident, and this actually happened to me. And your attorney, you go to your attorney because you were not at fault for your accident. And your attorney will tell you, which my attorney told me, that I must keep a diary of how I am feeling and how this accident has impacted my health and how I'm able to do my daily activities. Now, boys and girls, what do you think? Who's going to be the most convincing person when they have to go before a judge to get a settlement for money to pay for your pain, suffering, damages, and physical disability. Is the person who has incorrect spelled words, are they going to be the one most likely to have a convincing argument to their attorney with misspelled words and grammatical errors and punctuation error? Yes, that's right, Larry. No. So you're going to need to have a command over the English language and be able to spell, to speak correctly, speak eloquently, and to be able to write cohesively using correct spelling, grammar, punctuation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've probably at this time have written thousands of letters, whether you're writing the credit bureau or you're writing Duke Progress because they charge you too much money, or whether you are writing your attorney, or you're writing a paper to be admitted into college, or you're writing a letter to get a certain type of job. Even if you take the post office test, they're going to have some type of reading and writing activity up there. So you cannot get around it. So it's just, it behooves you uh, to increase your vocabulary skills and improve your writing skills. But anyway, these are the vocabularies for Acts 1, 2, and 3. So what we're going to do now, you're going to choose a word that you really do not know. And this is in your assignments. You're going to use the Frayer model. And I know some of you have access to Cami, so you can either edit this and write on it. You're going to choose a word, you write the word in the middle. Let's say I chose invocation. Then I write the definition. What is the invocation? It is a prayer. What are some facts I know about the invocation? They have it in prayer during services. I can draw a picture. Yes, we'll draw the picture here where it says examples. You can cross that. I can't. Well, I know I have it somewhere. But you'll draw a picture. If I were to draw a picture of an invocation, what that represents for me, I would draw a picture of praying hands. That's what I would do. Or maybe you can copy and paste a picture from the internet and paste it in your diagram. You may also may want to, and you could cross out this non-example. You may also may want to put synonyms, antonyms. Yes, you could pick any word. Synonyms, antonyms, parts of speech, number of syllables, anything that will help you to remember the word. Now, I want to show this as well. Let's see, where did I go? Oh, I did need that. So under your assignments, I put the directions here. And please take the time to read the directions. Using the Frayer model, choose a word from Act 1 or through 3 of Romeo and Juliet that you do not know. Choose a word that you do not know. And you draw a picture, write the word in the circle in the middle of the paper, write definitions, synonyms, anonym. You can do parts of speech as well, number of syllables, and write a sentence. So I've attached the Frayer model and the vocabulary list. Make sure you're studying your vocabulary so you'll be ready for when I start giving vocabulary quizzes. Are there any questions? So I'm gonna give you about 20 minutes to work on this. I also want to say, let me go back. I'm gonna show this again for somebody. You know, I don't know how many times I've shown this, but I want all students to be successful, but I know that some students are paying attention and some students may be taking a nap. So while you're working on that, I'm going to show this again because someone said that they could not access the Ed puzzle. I've shown the Ed puzzle in class, News Ella in class. I've shown the Epic books in class. Oh, okay, that's fine. So I'm going to show it again. And so if you can't
Romeo and
access it,
Juliet takes place in Verona, Italy.
if you cannot access Ed puzzle, just write your answers in a Google Doc and send it to me, and I will grade it. Okay, even if you have to email it. Okay, so or if you cannot access Ed puzzle and the questions, just write down your answers and send it in.
Two of the most important families in that city, the Montagues and the Capulets, have a long-standing feud with each other. At the beginning of the play, Montague and Capulet servants get into a fight with each other. Benvolio, a Montague family member, tries to break up the fight, but one of the Capulets, Tybalt, starts fighting with Benvolio. Finally, the prince comes and breaks up the fight. He tells Montague and Capulet, the head of each family, that they'll be put to death if this happens again. Afterward, Montague and Lady Montague ask Benvolio where their son Romeo was during the fight. Benvolio says Romeo's been moping around by himself, but he'll find out why. Romeo tells Benvolio that he's lovesick. He's in love with a girl named Rosaline who doesn't love him back. Benvolio promises to help Romeo forget about her. Count Paris says he wants to marry Capulet's only daughter, Juliet. Capulet wants Paris to wait a few years because Juliet's only 13, but says Paris can see if she's interested. He invites Paris to a feast that night. Capulet's servant walks around town trying to invite a list of people to Capulet's feast. The trouble is the servant can't read. He stops Benvolio and Romeo and asks them for help. Romeo sees Rosaline's name on the list, and Benvolio says they should crash the party so Romeo can compare Rosaline to other girls and get over her. Romeo Romeo agrees to go, but just so he can see Rosaline. Lady Capulet, Juliet, and Juliet's nurse discuss the fact that Paris wants to marry Juliet. Lady Capulet and the nurse sing his praises. Juliet agrees to meet him. Romeo, Benvolio, and Mercutio crash the feast wearing masks. At the party, Romeo sees Juliet and forgets all about Rosaline. He's in love. Capulet's nephew, Tybalt, recognizes Romeo's voice and is furious that Romeo snuck in. Capulet orders Tybalt to let it go because he doesn't want fighting at his feast. Romeo finds Juliet, holds her hand, and gets her to let him kiss her. All of this while the two of them talk to each other in poetry. After this encounter, each one tries to find out who the other is. They're upset to find out they're from rival families, but both of them decide they're too much in love to go back. After the party, Romeo ditches his friends and climbs over an orchard wall to see Juliet. He sees her on her balcony, talking to herself. Before she realizes Romeo is listening, Juliet says she's in love with him. Romeo steps out of hiding and says he loves her too. Romeo asks his priest, Friar Lawrence, if he'll conduct a marriage ceremony. Friar Lawrence is concerned about how quickly Romeo switched from Rosaline to Juliet, but agrees to do it because he thinks it will bring peace to the feuding families. Mercutio and Benvolio tell Romeo that Tybalt wants to challenge him to a duel. Juliet's nurse comes along wanting to talk to Romeo in private. Romeo tells her to have Juliet come to Friar Lawrence's that afternoon so they can get married. married. Juliet meets Romeo and the friar in his cell, and the friar marries them. Later, Tybalt finds Romeo and tries to start a fight. Romeo won't fight Tybalt because Tybalt's Juliet's cousin. Mercutio steps in to fight Tybalt instead. Romeo tries to break them up, but Tybalt shoves his sword under Romeo's arm and stabs Mercutio, then runs off. Mercutio dies, cursing both families. Families. Romeo's in Romeo's enraged, and when Tybalt returns, Romeo kills him, then flees.
Okay, this was the epic book. So you were given a question about 4 books.
National Geographic Readers.
So I'm gonna play one
Martin
now.
Luther King Jr. by Kitson Jazinke. Who was Martin Luther King Jr.? Can you imagine a world where laws kept black and white people apart? Where black children couldn't swim in the same pools as white children, or go to the same schools? A place where laws made it hard for black people to vote, or where a black person had to stand up on a bus so a white person could sit down. This world was real, and it happened in the United States. Words to know. Civil rights. The rights that all people in the U.S. have to be treated as equals. Martin Luther King Jr. worked hard to change rules so they would be the same for whites and blacks. He didn't do it by fighting. He helped change unfair laws by making people think. He did it by making people feel. He did it with his words. Words to know. Protest. To say you don't agree with something. Lots of black people and white people helped Dr. King protest those laws. This made many people angry because they didn't want change. But in the end, the protesters won, and the rules changed forever. Protesters. People who protest are called protesters. When protesters want unfair things changed, they sometimes march to show others that they do not agree with what is happening. Dr. King marches in a protest. Growing up. Dr. King was born in 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He was named after his father. He was called ML. Small but strong, ML rode bikes with his brother and sister. That's a fact. ML's boyhood home on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta is open to the public. ML's father was the minister of a church. He taught his children to stand up for what is right. He taught them to speak out against what is wrong. He taught them that all people deserve justice, which means that they should be treated fairly. ML's father was a minister at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. When he was 6, ML's best friend told him he was no longer allowed to play with ML. Why? Because ML was black and his friend was white. Segregation. Seg, rid, gay, shun, laws were meant to keep black people and white people apart. They kept kids apart too. ML felt bad. Why wasn't he good enough to play with his friend? Words to know. Segregation. Keeping someone or something apart from others. This movie theater had a separate rear entrance for blacks. ML's mother told him he was just as good as anybody else, and she told him the world was wrong. Wipe his tears. Then ML promised that one day he would change the world. Change for peace. Martin Luther King Jr. received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. At that time, he was the youngest person ever to have received it. He was just 35 years old. Words to know. Nobel Peace Prize. An important award given for outstanding work for peace.
Okay, so again, students, when you go back here, and this is an easy 100. It looks different on my screen than it does on yours, but all you had to do was just answer the question. Okay, see, some people put their question in the chat box, or you can attach a document. That's up to you. But this is an easy 100. And this work has been, a lot of this work has been posted since February. And see, that's why I explain it over and over and over again, because I want every student to have an opportunity. The only thing that's different with the Kung Fu story, you have to write a brief summary. And again, this is how you log in, and that's the code. Those are two eyes and eyes as an ice cream. And students, I can tell who's logging in and who's reading what. Are there any questions?